in the war, and was it on day one or day two that he was going to stop the war with Russia and Putin? And he's not going to any foreign wars, and not going to bomb. Definitely didn't run on. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to go bomb these nuclear sites over here in Iran, and yeah, on behalf of Israel. He definitely didn't run on that. Correct me if I'm.
To be honest, that's really the only thing that's the only thing that.
Sure. I was just entertaining normals.
Other than all the domestic policy has been completely.
All right, so wait. Are we done talking about the SNAP spark and the Medicaid, and we can move on to other sections of the bill?
I could move on.
Do anybody got any more questions? Because I thought I went over it as far as the big beautiful bill thing, as far as the Medicaid and the qualifications.
The part I didn't, please, Lou. The part that they took out, which was good, was the 10-year moratorium on AI.
Yeah, we was gonna get to that next week because we was gonna get to the. We just want to make sure everybody are we done with the because.
And the clean energy.
We just went over the first part. The first part of the bill we broke down was the health and welfare cut. So we broke down the details, the qualifications, who qualifies, what people need to do. Now we're going to transition to AI and
clean
regulation.
The clean energy part is very important.
Yeah, but let's start with AI. So the AI part, we can break this down in detail. Just an overview, there will be a 10-year ban on state level AI regulations, including the RAIN Act to limit federal regulations. So for people that don't know what the RAIN Act is, it's a conservative-backed law that will allow limited power of federal agencies by requiring Congress to approve any major new regulations before it can take effect, right? So like just some key points in the RAIN Act. It applies to regulations with an economic impact of $100 million or more. It gives Congress veto power over big rule issues by agencies like the EPA, FDA, IRS, and it aims to rein in the administrative state and shift power back to the elected lawmakers. So if you look at the AI, it includes the RAIN Act to limit federal regulations. This is going to be raised debt ceiling by $5 trillion, and there will be a CBO project of $3.9 trillion increase in deficit over 10 years. But yeah, so what do you agree with, Catalyst, about the AI portion of the bill?
It says the Senate strikes down the AI regulation ban. Problems. So many problems with this AI piece. Large language models are entities who make large language models, which are the core of how artificial intelligence works for language, speech, and whatnot. It compiles typically public information data that's out on the World Wide Web. Zuckerberg and OpenAI guy, they've been pushing to have access to private information, which destroys the Copyright Office, because ideas that are copywritten or patents and not trademarks, but really ideas that are copywritten are owned by a person or a company, of which to access that copyright you have to pay a fee. These people have been trying to push to get rid of that so they can access and build their models on private information. It's a horrible thing for anyone that's interested in IP ownership or rights ownership. And then also, this deal, immediately, if it hasn't, it's only passed 51 to 50 in the Senate with lots of concessions. It has to now go back to the House to figure out, all right, what are they going to agree, not disagree with before it goes to the House again. But if it passes in its current state, this triggers a multi-billion-dollar payout for Mark Zuckerberg right when it's signed, because of the way it's written. So yeah, the fact that the Senate struck down the AI regulation ban, I think that's a good thing. to not have companies untethered to raid copyrights and IP. Intellectual property, when I say IP, not internet protocol.
Anybody got, wait, matter of fact, let me get Duran in here. We can get this side of it. Do anybody got any questions about this AI in the big beautiful bill, the AI regulation component? Hello?
I'm sorry, Lou. I just got here. What is it? How is it regulated? I'm just curious. If you could give me a quick little something.
All right, so the House includes a 10-year federal ban preventing any state or local government from regulating AI systems. So that includes existing or future laws in order to preempt a patchwork of regulations. So basically, and then also some exemptions were allowed, but otherwise, matter of fact. Okay, yeah. So it was a Senate critique pushback. It was a dude named Bob Marshall. He warned it would strip states of powers to address AI harms like deep fakes and biases and shit. It also, like, the major tech firms like OpenAI, Google supported the federal exemption to avoid fragmented regulation. So. What else is just talking about it? Oh yeah, let me read this part. It says a compromised version still prevented states from regulating AI for 5 years, with carved out for areas like child safety and likeliness protections and tied compliance to federal broadbanding funding. So the Senate overwhelmingly rejected the moratorium, 9-1 vote. What else happened? Anybody else know any more details about this bill?
It was pushed. That provision has been pushed by Google, Alphabet, OpenAI, Meta, because again, they do not want to be. Silicon Valley large companies are saying we don't want the state, the government, to box us from our ability to have free innovation. But on the other side, for citizens who have intellectual property that's locked up by with copyright laws, if it goes through, it destroys the Copyright Office. Meaning, let me make it very simple. For those who are in music, if you write music and you copyright it, every single time someone uses your music, they have to pay a fee to use your music. It's a negotiated rate to pay the fee. This destroys that. This is saying Meta and Alphabet and OpenAI can build whatever they want on top of your music under the guise of innovation and not have to pay a fee to the rights holders. That's why this is problematic.
It's more of a compliance issue. So what the tech companies didn't want is 50 states making 50 different sets of regulations, and then when you deploy your AI model, you got to make sure that you comply with every state. So they wanted easy. They said, "Hey, give us 10 years so we can develop these models. We can deploy them under one guideline, one set of regulations. Then after 10 years, states can decide what they like and don't like about the model." If you're like doing any tech development, if you got 50 people giving you 50 sets of requirements, it's kind of hard to develop a tech to satisfy all of those requirements. So it's more of like they didn't want to spend a bunch of money trying to comply with every state releasing their mishmash of what they think AI should be and how they should contain it. They just wanted the right to be able to develop freely.
So that's how the problem is they're raiding the Copyright Office without having to pay the toll road under the guise of saying we want to be innovation and we don't want all these rights. There's already rights. Copyright Act. There's already rights. There's already a toll bridge called the Copyright Office. And rights holders, people who create intellectual property, they own those rights when they file a patent, a trademark, or a copyright. The way Meta, Alphabet, and OpenAI has been wanting is to push, is to get rid of that. We want to race past the Copyright Office and have access to the intellectual property to build our models that we can do what we want to do without any payment or fee. And they're saying, oh, well, it's all these different rights you got to go through. No, there's already a right. It's the Copyright Office. You cannot violate a copyright unless you pay for it.
But it's copyright federal state law. I think it's still federal. They're asking for relief from states. They're not asking. They're asking for relief from the state laws, the individual state laws. So I don't know how they bypass copyright if they're still complying with the federal laws. They're just asking, hey, I don't want to comply with all these different state laws that may be enacted, but they still have to comply with federal laws. I don't know how they bypass that unless Senate, passes a bill.
That's what this is. If you write this, you have properly. I'm just going to use music because I'm in tech. If you write music and you file it with the federal and Meta, OpenAI, or some game developer, the next version of Grand Theft Auto, whatever, says we want to grab that music in our AI to ingest it into our large language model that pushes it out for music when a person hits this part in the game. And now an individual says, hey, I want to sue for a copyright infringement because I didn't get paid and I'm in California. And they file it in California. Well, this bill that's trying to make its way through, Google, OpenAI, or any other software company can say, hey, we are doing innovation over here. We have our hands free, and we don't have to pay the toll road because this is part of our innovation play. That's what's going on.
And to your point, Catalyst, that we already see inklings of that happening in the music industry at this current day.
But can I say this? I hope, because it kind of sounded like somebody was comfortable with what lawmakers in every 50 state not enforcing what we voted them in to do, especially when it comes down to the state. And it's heavily problematic that anybody that deals with AI has to bypass what the state officials who are voted in. But no, we cannot finish eating. I'm not y'all. Okay, this is Clubhouse. You're not in some meeting. Y'all not paying me to work anything. So if you can leave quietly and come back. Get the fuck out of here. Y'all pretend like Clubhouse is a professional place. Y'all bang on here. Yeah, we fucking people and all those other things, but out of nowhere, eating is the problem. Wrong issue. But to double back, I think it's weird that we're comfortable with bypassing, local officials and their regulations specifically to something that's that could be dangerous to the average person, and that can impact states a little bit differently. We know that AI can influence elections. We know that AI can influence a lot of other things. I mean, there's lawsuits that ended up happening where a kid ended up killing themselves because of AI. So I'm just confused on how that works. I'm just lost.
And I am. Plus, the Republicans, they always talk about state rights, and now they're trying to take away the right.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
That's happening in California, and specifically in Los Angeles, California, when this administration federalized the National Guard under the guise of protest in the city of Los Angeles. And now it's still going on, and there are no protests going on here. I'm in Los Angeles. That's not happening. And the military's here sitting around at the federal building in downtown Los Angeles and in Westwood, and they're sleeping on the floors at nighttime inside federal buildings, just chilling, the Marines. And this administration has now pushed the National Guard to buttress ICE to go out into other areas that have nothing to do with protests to go after Spanish-looking individuals under the guise of immigration. It'll be interesting when they start going after every single Chinatown across the United States.
As they should, period.
As well as all the Europeans that are here illegally in Boston, in New York, in large cities. It'll be interesting when they get on that path and seeing how countries start pushing back. Like, wait a minute. The largest, in 2023, the largest immigrant coming up the southern border from Mexico into the United States were Chinese, not Spanish. So let's go to every Chinatown in Los Angeles, in San Francisco,
Who said they're not
in
deporting?
Atlanta. I don't know. Does Atlanta have a Chinatown? I don't know.
But can I ask you a question? Who said they're not deporting Asians?
I do not. I do not see
Oh, just because we don't see it.
actively being pushed out and raiding Chinatowns in New York, in
Well, they're not,
Chicago.
they're not raiding Latin towns either.
Actually, they
Oh, you think LA is a Latin town? Got it. That's the crazy thing.
not a
Because
Latin town. They're going to different communities where people are and jacking people just for being Spanish.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's not happening. If you're
Well, don't think that China itself did not respond to what was going on in LA, because it did have a downtown LA. If you know anything about downtown LA, and you know where all that was going on, Chinatown was definitely affected by all that you saw
in New York.
over the time. And don't think for a second that China didn't recognize that, like brother's saying, Calvis is saying, that their citizens could catch some of this ire from the mindset of someone like Trump and his administration, that especially with China and the tariffs and Trump's ego and and China definitely said, we'll basically in a nutshell, we're gonna protect our citizens over there in America for sure. They put it out there like, hey, no problem. Because it's like when you're playing on this chess level that Trump plays on and Elon play on and the world plays on, those are pawns in the game. Those American citizens that call themselves Chinese in Chinatown and whatnot, they are pawns in this game. So China's watching all of that, I'm sure.
But I do have a question, because the majority of these calls are probably coming in from people. If y'all are Americans, like you say you are, and somebody who's not even in your racial group is breaking law, I mean, why are you not calling? Can y'all let me know where these towns are so I can make the phone call to give our money, please, and thank you, send it to my back channel. But back to the AI, because I think that, a lot of you guys made a great point about the AI functions, but for me personally, I can't stand that a lot of these AI companies, financially back Donald Trump, and here you see now that this is a response. And I think that instead of trying to focus on the regulations, we should kind of force our lawmakers to create legislation where big companies cannot support political campaigns, period, financially at all. There's no reason why an Elon Musk should have donated fucking anything. There's no reason why Mark Zuckerberg needed to show up at an inauguration. Who the fuck is he? Okay? So I'm like, who the fuck are these people to come there and just sit there and clap like seals? Like, I'm crazy. This is not a wedding. This is a political move. So, I was just confused too. So I think that that's where we need to go when it comes down to these conversations. Like CEOs over a certain amount of companies cannot donate to political campaigns, period. That's how we win here.
I think it happened when that was a Citizens United decision from the Supreme Court saying that corporations are people. And that's when corporations all of a sudden could donate these large sums of money. They need to pass legislation. Yeah, I agree with you.
In this bill, also, the Republicans want to increase the amount of money that could go towards financing
You
campaigns.
see, I knew it. Think I should do it.
Yeah, this bill is a boondoggle. It is since Ronald Reagan in the 80s. It is every single thing that certain power brokers have wanted to put in a big bill, like a soup, a gumbo, and they've never been able to do it, and they couldn't stand individually on their own. That's why the Senate parliamentarian went through and said, according to the Byrd Act, if this does not relate directly to what the financing piece of this is talking about, it's not admissible in this bill. But they just threw a bunch of stuff in there. Just let's throw it in there. It's a wish these GOP individuals have been wanting since Reagan.
They tried to do this. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Sora on the bottom. Thanks for bringing me up. I hear people talking a lot about, coming in the right way, and, that's another rabbit hole you can go down. But I recently heard that there's a loophole in the immigration where you've got a lot of like South Asians, like Indians, that are buying up like Super 8s and motels, and you see them operating those because if you come in and you invest, I don't know, 2 million or something, or you buy a business, you automatically, I don't know if it's automatic, but that is another way people are using for path to
You
citizenship.
mean a business visa? Of course.
You're talking,
Or
you're
some,
talking about EB-5.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a fact.
yeah, they're because I think I heard
It's not a loophole. It's been in the law for years.
Yeah, and it's not a problem.
No, it's not. But I'm just saying, like, an immigration attorney, there's a whole like cottage industry of that, and like they help these clients come in, and you come in and you. Because I was wondering, because you see like Super 8s, you see them operated a lot by like these South Asians, which I have no, I'm not like nothing against them, but I'm just saying like I saw a lot of that, and I was wondering why that was, and so I heard about this where I guess if you kind of you buy one of these businesses and there's a whole like it's a whole known thing now, so you've got a lot of like South Asians coming in and maybe there's other cultures, but they're also then using that to once they get their citizenship of bringing their families over. So just I rest.
No, period. Shout outs to that. And shout outs to them investing into the communities around them and paying their tithes to be able to get what they're in. I have no issue with that. Matter of fact, can I just say this? As a black person, I don't give a fuck who coming into this country or who leaving. I'm over it. That's not my fight. None of it's my fight. I think that, the folk who have a problem with it, they should go out and fight, period. Like, I don't understand why specifically minorities who were born here would ever invest energy in what's going on, because we have no power to control it. We have no power to maneuver it. We have no power. We can profit from it, though. I'm going to be honest. Every time I see an immigrant, I look at that number. Okay, we can profit from it. But to be emotionally invested into any of that stuff when there's so many things that are going to happen in this country that is going to impact us as individuals who live in neighborhoods, who water may be impacted by, data centers that are built in America, right? We see that happening where, there was a documentary that was put out that there was a data center, I forgot, I think it's in Michigan, where the data center is dumping, waste into the waters and people are impacted. They're fucking sorry. It's in Memphis. Thank you, Katrina. Where we're like okay with that. We're okay with using ChatGPT, but like your water's fucked up. So it's like I don't know. It's giving the Matrix, right? Where it's like they love data so much that it blew them